Dear learners, I am Christina Georgy, your academic counselor for the MEG program. Today we will deal with the course code MEG-05, which is titled Literary Criticism and Theory. So as per the request of our learners, I will be recording this session for your effective preparation of the upcoming TEE. Today we will deal with Block 6 of MEG-05. And in this particular unit, we study a vindication of the rights of women. It is a very seminal text from Mary Wollstonecraft. Mary Wollstonecraft. Have you heard of this name before? You must have studied this as part of your history of English language and literature. Yeah, what do you know about Mary Wollstonecraft? She is a feminist. Can you remember any family relations? Yes, wife of William Godwin. So do you know their daughter? Yes, you're right. So, apart from she being a feminist, if we look at her family, we know many of her family members. That is, she's married to William Godwin and they have a daughter named Mary Shelley. And can you remember any other family relation? Who's Mary Shelley? Okay. So she is the wife of Godwin, William Godwin. She is the mother of Mary Shelley and she is the mother-in-law of our own Shelley, the romantic poet. So if you look at the introductory session of Unit 2, you can have a detailed understanding of Mary Wollstonecraft. That is, she belonged to a circle of intellectuals in London who were active supporters of revolutionary ideals. They upheld the ideals of the French Revolution. And this group was influenced by the idealist 17th century English philosopher John Locke. So her first publication was titled Thoughts on the Education of Daughters, which was published in the year 1787, and this was followed by a Vindication of the Rights of Man, which was published in the year 1790. And do you have any idea who is often considered as the founder of feminism? Yes, it is Mary Wollstonecraft. She is often regarded as the founder of feminism as well. Alright, so moving on to the social and cultural background, it was Rousseau who had first set out the following plan for the education of women, which is an indication of their position in society. There you can see the quote from Wollstonecraft herself. To put it in simple words, it is said that middle and upper class women could aspire at the most to an education that would prepare them for a companionate marriage. That is, the utmost education that could have been provided to the women of that time was to have a good marriage. This was a marriage in which the wife would be trained to be a pleasant companion for her husband. So what is said here is that the utmost education that was provided to women of that time was just to be a good companion to the husband. See? Yes. On to the more important parts, that is, Wollstonecraft's text is addressed to women in the sense that it concerns their rights and education. So education, according to her, is integral to the development of individual identity, so that this dependence of the mind on sensations and impressions need the rigorous discipline of education. That is, in short, education is very mandatory for the women population. This need for education is even more compelling in case of women than for men. That is what she says. Women do not have the subsequent access to a career or to business that men have, and are hence more bound in an irrational way to first impressions. That is what she mentions in this text. So we can say that this lady, this feminist critic, that is Wollstonecraft, builds on This groundwork with data from two sources. The first source is contemporary literature, and the second source is her observations of ordinary life. You can read more about this as part of section 2.3.2. So there are other aspects mentioned here, that is, there is this question of gender stereotyping which results in a culture generating the images by which it dilutes itself. We already discussed that. So encouraged by social conditioning, what happens, both men and women look out for wrong things in each other. Men look for a attraction aspect from women, whereas women look for men with appearance and manners of gentlemen, but not men of any worth. That is what she mentions here. Next, the gap in both the system of education and in literature is addressed. Finally, it is said that women are defeated both by bad education and bad literature to the call of reason, which means that knowledge of reality is both denied to them. Okay, so that is the essence of what is mentioned there. If we are about to sum up, we can say that Wollstonecraft went further than her contemporaries in the late 18th century England by demanding that twin values of reason and revolution, which they cherished, be applied to the cause of women's education. She advocated for the education of women. She argues that education is essential to train the minds of women away from enslavement to early impressions. She highlights the inferiority of contemporary literature and life to show the defective education of women is the cause of social and personal ills. Her work is typical of its age and culture, as it illustrates the nexus between early socialism and feminism, but ultimately seems to demand equality for women, mainly as a means to an end. With that, we come to the end of Unit 2. So Unit 2 spoke about Mary Wollstonecraft and the main concept in her work titled The Vindication. Okay, so now comes Unit 3, where we meet Virginia Woolf and her Room of One's Own.